Hi everyone, and welcome back to Gastronomy Games. Today, we are celebrating Egg Month by going over scrambled eggs and omelets. Eggs are delicious, affordable, and so unbelievably versatile. So without any further ado, let's get cracking. Cracking an egg one-handed is more than just a way to excite your guests. It also comes in handy when you need to keep one hand clean and dry. Hold the egg lengthwise in your dominant hand. If you have large hands, you can place your pointer and middle finger on the top two ends of the egg with your thumb under the pointer. If your hands are on the small side, put the knuckle of your ring finger under your middle finger. Crack the egg, and with your thumb, push up and away so the shell breaks in two pieces. This will take some practice, but give it some time, and it will become second nature. For all these recipes, we are going to start by beating our eggs. We want to make sure that the yolks and whites are completely emulsified so that our eggs are evenly cooked and texturally consistent throughout. This will help give your omelets and scrambles a more luxurious texture and flavor. Our first recipe is French-styled scrambled eggs, which are more delicate and rich than their American counterpart. We're going to start by melting 1.5 to 2 tablespoons of butter in a saucepan on low heat. Once it's melted, stir in 4 eggs with a rubber spatula. The key to these eggs is to keep them moving and keep the heat as low as possible. You should be able to comfortably hold your hand on the side of the pot without burning it. It won't look like anything to start with, but be patient. It'll start to curdle and tighten. If the curds are tightening too fast or becoming too large, don't be afraid to slide your pan off the heat for a few seconds while stirring constantly. Once small curds have begun to form, add in a pinch of salt. It's important not to salt your eggs too early because it can draw out moisture and make them watery. For this reason, it's also important to use unsalted butter, which I prefer to use in all my dishes. Right before serving, add in your mix-ins. You can finish it with whatever ingredients you'd like. We're just using some chopped parsley, but you can use any combination of herbs or cheeses you would like. Additionally, if you would like to make sure that your eggs do not continue to cook, you can add in a tiny splash of cream or creme fraiche or sour cream to stop the cooking. The egg should still run slightly off of your rubber spatula and be almost the consistency of a porridge. We are going to serve them over brioche toast and smoked salmon and garnish them with chives for a classy but simple brunch centerpiece. But you can eat them simply as they are, or get creative with how you'd like to plate them. This is a dish that is truly greater than the sum of its parts, and if you've never tried French-styled scrambled eggs, I would really recommend giving it a try. Next, we're going to move on to omelets, starting with the one you are probably most familiar with, the American-style omelet. I'm making mine with shallots, chicken sausage, and Parmesan, but you can make it with whatever you'd like. We are going to start by melting our butter on medium and sauteing our shallots and browning our sausage. For our omelets, we've switched to a 7-inch egg pan. Even though this is non-stick, I would still recommend not skimping on the butter because this will make it much easier to fold your omelet in the long run. We are then going to salt our sausage. We don't want to add our salt directly to our raw eggs because they will become watery, just like our scramble. And then we are going to turn our heat down to medium-low before sliding our pan off the direct heat and adding in our egg. And we're sliding back on the heat, and we want to keep stirring until the bottom is set. Once that happens, we are just going to use our spatula to define the outer edges of our omelet, clearing away any loose edges. We do not want to keep stirring our eggs at this point because we want the bottom to have time to set, but we will tilt our pan intermittently to make sure that the center is cooked. Once the center still looks wet, but there is no longer any running eggs, add in your Parmesan cheese. before carefully folding one side over onto the other. At this point, your eggs should be completely set, but just give it a check first, and then just give it a flip. We're just going to carefully take each side to golden brown. Just be careful because the eggs are delicate at this point, and overly browned eggs can have an off-putting flavor and aroma. Notice that the omelet is only slightly browned. We don't want to go any further than this. Now all that's left to do is slide the omelet out onto a plate and enjoy. This is the most cooked through omelet we are doing today, but you will notice that it is still quite soft. Next up is a French rolled omelet. Start by melting a tablespoon of butter on low heat and stir in 3 beaten eggs. The 3 things to keep in mind for this one is to keep the pan moving, keep the heat low, and don't add the salt directly to your eggs, as with all of our other egg preparations. This is a simple dish, but a French omelet is very delicate and can overcook easily, so temperature control is everything. As with the last omelet, do not be afraid to take it off the heat if it is setting too fast or if the curds are getting too large. Also, as before, you can lightly tip the pan to see that the eggs in the center of the pan are cooking through and are not too watery. When the bottom is just set and no more egg runs when the pan is tilted, add in some herbs or cheese. Then, using a rubber spatula, carefully begin to roll the omelet up on top of itself, starting on the corner closest to you, before folding in on itself. And once you've got it started, you can roll it using the pan edge directly onto the plate. You'll notice that there is no color on this omelet, and that it is still slightly loose when we cut into the center of it. This is what gives it its creamy texture and flavor. Our final omelet is a take on a Japanese omelet. It is not a true tamagoyaki or rolled Japanese omelet, but it borrows inspiration from this Japanese classic. We are going to start by making our own dashi. Ours is very simple. We are combining sliced ginger, kombu, which is a type of dried kelp, and bonito flakes. They're made from dried bonito fish, which is then flaked and smoked. We are then covering it with cold water and putting it on the stove on a bare simmer for about 25 minutes before straining. Resulting broth is subtle and deeply savory and will add incredible depth to your omelet. For a vegetarian rendition of this recipe, you can use dried shiitake mushrooms instead of the bonito flakes. Once the dashi is cooled, whisk in 1.5 tablespoons into 3 eggs. Back in our egg pan, we are going to sweat some minced shallots in vegetable oil over medium heat. Once they are translucent, we are going to sweat down some ginger and garlic, just until they become fragrant. This will only take about a minute. If you notice at any time that any of your ingredients are starting to brown, turn down the stove and take the pan off the heat and stir. Our flavors here are very delicate, and we don't want the flavors of our aromatics to get too dominating. Once we can smell that ginger and garlic, we're just going to turn our stove down to medium-low before adding in a tablespoon of ponzu, half a tablespoon of rice wine vinegar, and about a teaspoon of sugar. Swirl the pan, making sure everything is nice and mixed together, and then we are just going to reduce this until there is no more standing liquid and it is roughly the consistency of applesauce. Then we're going to turn the heat to low, add in just a little bit more oil. Just like with our other omelets, we really want to make sure there's enough fat so that our eggs do not stick to the pan. Give it a little bit of a shake before taking our pan off the heat and adding in our eggs mixed with dashi, and then back on the heat. We are going to keep it moving, keep stirring on low heat, the same way we did with our French style omelet. Just like our French style scrambled eggs, we are looking for it to start to resemble a porridge. The extra liquid in the dashi will make the eggs extra fluffy, but it will also make them more delicate and take longer to set. Keeping them moving until they are more stable will help eliminate excess liquid and keep them from falling apart once you do roll your omelet. So now that we do have our porridge-like consistency, we are just going to define our edges and let the omelet set. Feel free to run the spatula around the omelet to check to see if it's ready to roll. If you can lift an edge up without the omelet splitting or collapsing in on itself, you're ready to go. And from this point, it is very similar to our French omelet. It is just a little bit puffier, but we are just going to roll it in on itself and then just flip it onto our plate. This will probably take a few times, but fortunately it tastes delicious either way, so keep at it and you'll be rolling like a pro in no time. You're going to garnish with some chili oil and scallions, and there you have it. This is delicious on its own or served over rice, and is a great way to shake up anyone's breakfast routine. When it comes to eggs, the options are limitless, and I can't wait to explore the world of the incredible edible egg with you more sometime soon. And a very happy National Egg Month, everyone!